The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates from across the known galaxy gathered for an emergency session. Zethkar, the insectoid representative from the Hive Worlds, clicked his mandibles anxiously while reviewing the classified documents on his holographic display. The blue-skinned Aquarians whispered among themselves in their melodic language, while the crystalline resonance chimed in harmonic frequencies that made the air itself vibrate. At the center of the vast circular chamber stood Ambassador Vexthal of the Dominion, his reptilian features grave as he activated the main holographic projector. The image that appeared made every being in the room fall silent. It showed a small blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star in what the locals call the Milky Way galaxy. Fellow delegates, Vexthal's voice echoed through the chamber. We are here to discuss the most critical threat our galaxy has ever faced. The inhabitants of the third planet in the Sol system have begun to stir. A collective shudder ran through the assembled representatives. The ethereals, beings of pure energy who rarely showed emotion, flickered with what could only be described as fear. Elder Mordun of the Ancient Ones leaned forward, his weathered face creased with worry. "Are you certain?" Mordun asked, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "The monitoring stations have confirmed increased activity." Vexthal nodded grimly. "Our deep space sensors have detected massive energy signatures emanating from their planet. They've begun splitting atoms, sending electromagnetic signals across space. And, most disturbing of all, they've started launching primitive vessels beyond their atmosphere." The chamber erupted in panic chatter. The void dancers, shadowy beings from the dark matter realms, seemed to fade even further into the darkness. The mechanical, synthesized, usually emotionless, processed this information with visible distress, their optical sensors flashing red warning signals. "How long do we have?" asked Commander Yilneth of the Star Warriors, her warriors' instincts already calculating battle scenarios. "Our xenobiologists estimate 50 to 100 of their solar cycles before they achieve interstellar travel," replied Dr. Zenmore, the galaxy's leading expert on dormant species. The elderly scientist's forearms trembled as he consulted his data tablets. But their technological advancement is accelerating at an unprecedented rate. The silence that followed was deafening. Every being present knew the stories, the ancient warnings passed down through countless generations. The humans were not just another species to be cataloged and observed. They were the reason the Galactic Council existed in the first place. "Tell them, more done," whispered Sage Keelera of the Mind Readers, her telepathic abilities picking up the collective dread in the room. "Tell them what happened before." Elder Mordun stood slowly, his ancient form supported by a staff that had seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations. His eyes, clouded with age, but sharp with memory, gazed out at the assembled delegates. "It was over 50 million cycles ago," he began, his voice carrying across the chamber like a funeral dirge. "Long before most of your species had even evolved consciousness. The galaxy was different then, wilder, more chaotic. Wars raged between star systems. Empires rose and fell like cosmic storms." He paused, gathering his strength to continue. "The humans were awake then. They called themselves by many names, but we knew them simply as the sleepers who could not sleep. They spread across the stars like wildfire, not through conquest or colonization, but through something far more terrifying." "What did they do?" asked the young crystalline representative, her harmonic voice barely a whisper. "They helped," Mordun replied, and the simple words sent another wave of fear through the chamber. "Wherever there was suffering, they appeared. Wherever there was injustice, they intervened. Wherever there was war, they brought peace. But not through diplomacy or negotiation. They did it through sheer, unstoppable determination." The elder's staff tapped against the floor as he continued. "They would arrive in their strange vessels, speaking words we didn't understand. They would place themselves between warring factions, often dying in the process. But more would come, always more. They seemed to multiply in response to tragedy, like antibodies fighting an infection." Dr. Zenmore nodded solemnly. "Our historical records from that period show massive disruptions to the natural order of galactic civilization. Entire empires built on slavery simply vanished overnight. Dictatorships that had lasted millennia crumbled in solar cycles. The humans called it liberation, but we saw it as the unmaking of everything we understood. They didn't conquer, added Sage Keelura, her mind touching the ancient memories preserved in the Council's archives. They didn't rule. They just fixed things. And when they were done, they would disappear again, leaving behind worlds that were somehow better but forever changed. Commander Yilneth's warrior pride bristled. Surely they could have been stopped. No species is invincible. The silence that followed was answer enough. Finally, Mordun spoke again. Many tried. The destroyer fleets, the shadow armadas, the quantum legions. All turned their weapons against the humans. None succeeded. What happened to them? Asked another delegate. They simply stopped, replied the elder. One day, they were helping a mining colony in the Outer Rim escape from slavers. The next, they were gone. Their ships returned to their homeworld, and they never left again. We watched from afar as they seemed to forget about the stars entirely, turning their attention inward to their own small planet. Vexthal stepped forward again. Our scientists theorize that they enter periods of dormancy, focusing on internal development while the galaxy adapts to their previous interventions. But now the signs are unmistakable. They're beginning to look outward again. The energy signatures we're detecting aren't just technological advancement, Dr. Zenmore added, his voice heavy with implications. They're the same patterns we recorded 50 million cycles ago, right before the Great Intervention began. The chamber fell into contemplative silence as each delegate processed the magnitude of the situation. The humans weren't just another emerging species to be guided or controlled. They were a force of nature that had once reshaped the galaxy according to their incomprehensible moral code. What do we do? Asked Ambassador Kretal of the Trade Federation, his normally confident demeanor shaken. We prepare, answered Elder Mordun, and we pray to whatever powers we believe in at this time. We can find a way to coexist with them without losing everything we've built in their absence. As the delegates began to disperse, each returning to their homeworlds with the terrible knowledge they now carried, none of them noticed the small probe that had been silently observing their gathering. Deep in the void between stars, the probe turned and began its long journey home, carrying with it every word that had been spoken in the council chamber. On Earth, in a small observatory in Chile, Dr. Sarachan smiled as she reviewed the latest data from the Kepler Space Telescope. Humanity had just detected its first potentially habitable exoplanet, and she couldn't wait to share the discovery with the world. She had no idea that the world was already watching her back. Captain Marcus Webb floated in the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching Earth slowly rotate beneath him. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council's emergency meeting, and humanity remained blissfully unaware that they were being watched by countless eyes across the galaxy. Marcus pressed his hand against the reinforced window, marveling at the aurora dancing across the polar regions. Beautiful, isn't it? Dr. Elena Vasquez joined him at the observation window, her tablet showing the latest readings from their deep space monitoring equipment. Sometimes I think we take it for granted, living on such a remarkable planet. Marcus nodded, though something had been bothering him lately. Elena, have you noticed anything unusual in the deep space scans? There's been a lot of chatter from the radio telescopes about unexplained signals. Elena frowned, consulting her data. Actually, yes. SETI has been picking up structured transmissions from multiple star systems. They're not random cosmic noise. Someone or something is definitely out there, and they're talking to each other. Meanwhile, in the outer reaches of the solar system, a cloaked observation ship belonging to the Dominion hung motionless near Pluto's orbit. Inside, Science Officer KYXTEL monitored human communications with growing unease. His scaled fingers danced across holographic controls as he intercepted everything from television broadcasts to military communications. Commander, KYXTEL called to his superior, "You need to see this." Commander Thelvok approached, his reptilian features expressing concern. "What is it, Science Officer?" "The humans, sir. Look at their entertainment broadcasts." KYXTEL displayed a series of human movies and television shows on the main screen. Science fiction, they call it. But look at the themes. Thelvok watched in horror as scenes played out showing humans traveling to distant worlds, making contact with alien species, and, inevitably, helping them solve their problems. Stories of humans standing against impossible odds, sacrificing themselves for complete strangers, never backing down from what they believed was right. By the void, Felvok whispered. They're dreaming about it again. The intervention patterns are already forming in their collective unconscious. On the observation screen, a human movie showed a scene where Earth's heroes traveled to a distant planet to help aliens being oppressed by a galactic empire. The humans fought against overwhelming odds, many dying in the process, but ultimately achieving victory through sheer determination and unwillingness to abandon those in need. Sir, KYXTEL said quietly, this isn't just entertainment. According to our cultural analysis algorithms, these stories represent their deepest values and aspirations. They're literally imagining scenarios where they leave their world to help others. Back on Earth, in a small apartment in Tokyo, 12-year-old Akiko Tanaka sat in front of her computer, typing furiously in an online gaming forum. She was discussing her favorite science fiction series with friends from around the world, debating what humanity would do if they ever encountered alien life. I think we want to help them, she typed. That's what makes us human, right? We see someone in trouble, and we can't just walk away. Her friend David from London replied, yeah, but what if they were really different from us? What if we couldn't even understand them? Doesn't matter. Akiko responded without hesitation. If someone needs help, you help them. It's that simple. In orbit around Jupiter, another hidden observation vessel belonging to the Ethereal Collective detected the online conversation through their monitoring systems. The energy beings inside pulsed with distress as their translation algorithms processed the human's words. Alert the Council, whispered the lead observer, his energy form flickering with anxiety. The awakening patterns are accelerating. They're already displaying the behavioral markers we recorded from the Great Intervention period. Dr. Sarah Chun, now 3 months into her analysis of the potentially habitable exoplanet she discovered, made another breakthrough in her small office at the European Southern Observatory. The planet showed signs of having suffered some kind of ecological disaster centuries ago, but recent observations suggested it was beginning to recover. If there was life there once, she murmured to herself, studying the atmospheric composition data, there might be life there still. And if they're rebuilding after a catastrophe, they might need help. The thought came to her naturally, without any consideration of the practical impossibilities. Humanity didn't have faster-than-light travel, couldn't survive the journey to another star system, and had no way of even confirming that life existed on the distant world. But Sarah's first instinct was to wonder how they could help. Her research assistant, Dr. James Liu, looked up from his calculations. Sarah, I've been running models on our theoretical propulsion systems. If we could develop fusion ramjets, we might be able to send automated probes to nearby star systems within a century or two. Not fast enough, Sarah replied immediately. If there are people out there who need help, we need to get there sooner. James paused, recognizing something familiar in her tone. It was the same intensity he'd seen in Sarah when she'd worked for Doctors Without Borders before switching to astronomy. The same urgent need to help that had driven her to risk her life in disaster zones around the world. In the depths of space, at the edge of the Galactic Council's territory, an automated monitoring station detected unusual quantum fluctuations emanating from Earth's solar system. The fluctuations weren't technological in nature, but seemed to be connected to the collective human consciousness itself. The station's AI immediately transmitted an emergency alert to the council chambers. Within hours, representatives from dozens of species were gathering again, their faces grave as they reviewed the new data. The quantum resonance patterns are identical to those recorded during the pre-intervention phase 50 million cycles ago, reported Dr. Zemmore, his forearms trembling as he manipulated the holographic displays. The humans are beginning to synchronize on a subconscious level. Elder Mordun studied the data with ancient eyes that had seen too much. It begins with their stories, he said slowly. They tell themselves tales of heroism and sacrifice, of traveling to distant worlds to help strangers. These stories shape their collective unconscious, preparing them for what they believe is their destiny. But how? Asked a delegate from the Crystal Hegemony. How does mere storytelling translate into the kind of technological and social revolution we witnessed before? Because for humans, More Dunn replied, imagination is the first step toward reality. They dream of something, then they find a way to make it happen. Their entire history is filled with impossible achievements that started as simple stories. On Earth, in a research facility in California, Dr. Lisa Park made a breakthrough in quantum mechanics that would have seemed like science fiction just months earlier. Her experiments with quantum entanglement had accidentally created a stable micro-wormhole, lasting for nearly 3 seconds before collapsing. "James, come look at this," she called to her colleague. "I think we might have just figured out the first step toward faster-than-light communication." Her motivation wasn't scientific curiosity or the pursuit of knowledge for its own sake. It was something much simpler and more profound. Earlier that day, she'd read about a refugee crisis on the other side of the world, and her first thought had been about how communication barriers made it harder to coordinate relief efforts. If they could communicate instantly across any distance, they could help people more effectively. The breakthrough was driven by humanity's fundamental need to help others, the same drive that had once reshaped an entire galaxy. In his hidden observation post, Commander Thelvok watched Dr. Park's experiment through intercepted laboratory feeds. His blood ran cold as he realized what he was witnessing. The humans weren't just dreaming about helping others anymore. They were beginning to develop the tools to make those dreams reality. "Send an emergency transmission to the Galactic Council," he ordered. "Tell them the timeline has accelerated. The humans aren't decades away from interstellar capability. If they continue at this pace, they'll be among the stars within their own generation." As Earth continued its slow rotation through space, its inhabitants went about their daily lives, completely unaware that their simple desire to help others was sending waves of terror across an entire galaxy. They dreamed of distant worlds and alien friends, never knowing that those friends already existed, and were desperately hoping humanity would remain asleep just a little while longer. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday morning in Geneva, Switzerland. Dr. Maria Santos stared at her computer screen in disbelief as the data from the Large Hadron Collider's latest experiment scrolled past. What they had achieved should have been impossible according to every physics textbook ever written, but the evidence was undeniable. "Get Director Chun on the line," she called to her assistant, her voice shaking with excitement. "We've done it. We've actually done it." 3 hours later, scientists from around the world gathered in the CERN conference room via video link, their faces reflecting a mixture of awe and terror at the implications of what they discovered. Dr. Santos stood before the assembled group, her presentation slides showing theoretical diagrams that would change everything. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "we have successfully created a stable Einstein-Rosen bridge. What you're looking at is the first human-made wormhole, sustained for 47 minutes before controlled collapse." The silence in the room was deafening. Dr. Zhang Wei from Beijing leaned forward, his voice barely a whisper. "Maria, are you saying we've figured out faster-than-light travel?" "Not travel. Not yet," Maria replied. "But we've proven the concept. The mathematics work. The energy requirements are enormous, but theoretically achievable with fusion technology that's already in development. In the outer reaches of the solar system, every alien observation post simultaneously detected the massive gravitational anomaly that had appeared near Geneva. Alarms blared across dozens of hidden ships as their sensors registered the impossible. Humans had just torn a hole in space-time itself. Commander Thelvok of the Dominion observation vessel felt his blood turn to ice. He opened an emergency channel to the Galactic Council, his scaled hands trembling as he activated the communications array. "This is Observation Post 7, he transmitted. "Emergency Priority 1. The humans have achieved theoretical, faster-than-light capability. Repeat, they have demonstrated controlled wormhole generation." The response came back within minutes, and it wasn't from the council chambers. It was from the Ancient One's homeworld, transmitted directly from Elder Mordun himself. "All observation posts, this is Elder Mordun. Implement Protocol 7 immediately. We are moving to active intervention." On Earth, Dr. Santos was unaware that her discovery had just triggered the largest military mobilization in galactic history. She was focused on something much simpler: the list of potentially habitable exoplanets that SETI had been monitoring. Her first thought wasn't about the scientific achievement or the fame it would bring. It was about whether there might be people on those distant worlds who needed help. "We need to start planning probe missions," she told her team. "If we can create stable wormholes, We can send unmanned vehicles to other star systems to look for signs of life. Dr. Liu, who had been quietly running calculations, looked up with concern. Maria, the energy requirements would be enormous. We need to harness the power output of several nuclear reactors just for a probe-sized wormhole. Then, we'll build the reactors, Maria replied without hesitation. If there are intelligent species out there, they might be facing problems we could help solve. Climate change, resource depletion, disease. We have solutions that might save lives. Her casual determination to revolutionize human technology for the sake of helping complete strangers sent chills down the spines of every alien observer monitoring the conversation. Meanwhile, in orbit around Pluto, the largest gathering of alien vessels in human history was beginning to assemble. Ships from every major galactic civilization hung in the darkness of the outer solar system, their crews preparing for something no one wanted to do, but everyone agreed was necessary. Admiral Kreshtar of the Dominion Battle Fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying tactical displays that showed the positioning of the intervention force. Vessels from the Aquarian Defense Corps, the Crystalline Harmony Fleet, the Ethereal Collective, and dozens of other species formed a massive armada designed for one purpose: to prevent humanity from leaving their solar system. Status report. Admiral Kreshtar commanded. All fleets report ready, sir, replied his tactical officer. The Ethereal Collective has deployed quantum suppression fields around the Earth's major research facilities. The Aquarians have positioned gravity distortion generators near their lunar installations. The Crystalline Harmony has prepared resonance weapons to disable their satellite networks. And our mission parameters? Minimize casualties, sir. The Council has been very clear about that. We're to prevent them from achieving interstellar capability without causing unnecessary harm. Disrupt their technology, not their population. The Admiral's scaled features twisted into what might have been a grimace. Easy to say, hard to do. The last time anyone tried to gently redirect human development, they ended up helping the humans develop better technology to break through the restrictions. Back on Earth, Dr. Sarachun was making another discovery that would send new waves of panic through the intervention fleet. Using improved radio telescopes powered by fusion technology, she had detected something unprecedented: structured signals that appeared to be distress calls from multiple star systems. The pattern is consistent, she explained to an emergency meeting of the International Astronomical Union. Artificial signals suggesting civilizations in crisis. Some appear to be warnings about natural disasters. Others seem to be requests for assistance with technological failures. Dr. Chen pulled up a star map showing the locations of the signals. If we're interpreting these correctly, there are at least 12 different species within 50 light-years of Earth that appear to be in some kind of trouble. The reaction from the assembled astronomers was immediate and predictable. Dr. Kim from Seoul was the first to speak. We have to help them. But how? Asked Dr. Rodriguez from Madrid. Even with the wormhole technology, we don't have ships capable of interstellar travel. Then, we build them, replied Dr. Chun, her voice carrying the same quiet determination that had driven her to discover the signals in the first place. If people are dying out there, we find a way to reach them. The meeting dissolved into frantic planning sessions as teams of scientists began working on theoretical designs for interstellar rescue vessels. None of them questioned whether it was humanity's responsibility to help alien species they'd never met. For them, the question wasn't whether to help, but how to help more effectively. In the depths of space, Elder Mordun received a final status report from his observation teams. The ancient being's energy form pulsed with something between sadness and resignation as he reviewed the data. They've detected the distress signals, reported Science Officer Kielveth. Their entire scientific community is now focused on developing interstellar rescue capability. Mordun had lived through the last great intervention. He had watched as humanity spread across the galaxy like a force of nature, unable to ignore suffering wherever they found it. He had seen entire civilizations transform overnight as humans arrived to help with natural disasters, technological failures, and social injustices. How long until they're capable of launching their first mission? He asked. At their current rate of development, 18 months for unmanned probes. Perhaps 5 years for crewed vessels. The Elder was quiet for a long moment. And the distress signals they're receiving? They're real, sir. The HFY star system is facing ecological collapse. The Mordun colonies are dealing with a plague their medical technology can't cure. The Zephyrian homeworld sun is becoming unstable. All situations that human intervention could resolve, Mordun said quietly. Yes, sir. That's what makes this so difficult. Those civilizations genuinely need help, and the humans are probably the only species with both the capability and the willingness to provide it. Elder Mordun made a decision that would echo across the galaxy. Instead of ordering the intervention fleet to disable human technology, he transmitted new orders to Admiral Kreshtar. Admiral, this is Elder Mordun. Delay the intervention. We're going to try something that's never been attempted before. Sir, we're going to tell them the truth. On Earth, Dr. Maria Santos was working late in her laboratory when every screen in the facility suddenly displayed the same image, a star field showing the location of Earth, with text appearing in perfect, grammatically correct English. Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We need to talk. Maria stared at the message, her heart pounding. Humanity's greatest dream was about to become reality, but she had no idea it was also the galaxy's greatest fear. As she reached for the emergency contact list to alert government officials, she couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Outside Earth's atmosphere, the intervention fleet waited in tense silence, weapons powered but not yet aimed, as first contact between humanity and galactic civilization began. The universe was about to learn whether 50 million years of fear had been justified, or if there might be another way forward. The emergency session of the United Nations Security Council lasted 18 hours. Representatives from every major nation sat in stunned silence as they processed the impossible reality that had crashed into their world. Ambassador Patricia Williams, the current Secretary General, stared at the holographic projection that had materialized in the center of the chamber without any technology they recognized. The projection showed Elder Mordun, his ancient features weathered by eons of existence. When he spoke, his words were simultaneously translated into every language on Earth. People of Earth, the Elder began, we have watched your species for millions of your years. We have seen you grow, evolve, and develop the same characteristics that once reshaped our galaxy. We are here because you are about to rediscover abilities that you possessed long ago. President Chun of China leaned forward. What do you mean by rediscover? Are you saying humans have been to the stars before? Not you specifically, Mordun replied. But your species, yes. 50 million years ago, humans were a space-faring civilization. You spread across the galaxy not as conquerors, but as helpers. You could not ignore suffering anywhere you found it. The Russian representative, General Volkov, spoke with barely concealed suspicion. And why should we believe any of this? You could be invaders using psychological warfare to confuse us. Elder Mordun's form shimmered, and suddenly, the chamber filled with holographic displays showing ancient star charts, archaeological evidence from dozens of worlds, and, most shocking of all, video records of humans from the distant past. The humans in the recordings looked exactly like modern people, but they wore strange clothing and operated technology that seemed impossibly advanced. The videos showed humans arriving at alien worlds in sleek vessels, immediately setting to work helping with natural disasters, teaching advanced medicine to primitive species, and standing between warring factions to enforce peace. These records were kept by every major galactic civilization. Mordun explained. Your species has a pattern of behavior that manifests consistently across time. You develop advanced technology not for conquest or profit, but to help others more effectively. Dr. Sarah Chun, who had been invited to the emergency session as humanity's leading expert on alien signals, studied the holographic displays with wonder and growing understanding. The distress signals we've been receiving, she said. You've been sending them to us deliberately. No, more than we believe. Those signals are genuine. 12 different civilizations within your local stellar region are facing existential crises. We've been monitoring your response to see if the behavioral patterns would manifest again. And, asked Secretary General Williams, your entire scientific community immediately began developing technology to reach and help them, Mordun said. You didn't question whether it was your responsibility. You didn't debate the cost or difficulty. You simply accepted that if others needed help, you had to find a way to provide it. In Geneva, Dr. Maria Santos watched the UN proceedings on live television while continuing her work on wormhole stabilization. The revelation that humans had once been a galactic civilization explained so much about the breakthrough they'd achieved. The mathematics had come to her team almost instinctively, as if they were remembering something rather than discovering it for the first time. Maria, her assistant Dr. Lou, called from across the laboratory. "You need to see this." On his computer screen was a technical schematic that had appeared in their secure network without any external transmission. It showed detailed plans for a fusion reactor design that was centuries ahead of anything humans had developed, but somehow completely understandable to their team. "Where did this come from?" Maria asked. "Unknown origin," Lou replied. "But look at the file properties. It was created 18 minutes ago, and the metadata suggests it was generated by our own quantum computers. It's like our machines are remembering how to build things we've never built before." Meanwhile, in space, the massive alien intervention fleet found itself facing an unprecedented situation. Admiral Kreshtar stood on his bridge, watching as human technology began rapidly evolving in real time. Their satellites were upgrading themselves with new capabilities, their computer networks were spontaneously generating advanced scientific data, and their space-based installations were beginning construction of devices that shouldn't have been possible for a pre-interstellar civilization. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we're detecting quantum resonance patterns throughout human civilization. It appears their collective unconscious is accessing stored information from their previous galactic period." "Can we stop it?" "Unknown, sir. This isn't technological advancement in the traditional sense. It's more like awakening from a long sleep." Back in the UN chamber, Elder Mordun continued his explanation. "Your species undergoes cycles of galactic activity and dormancy. During active periods, you spread across the stars, helping other civilizations. During dormant periods, you withdraw to your homeworld and focus on internal development." "Why?" asked the British Prime Minister. "What triggers these cycles?" "We believe it's connected to galactic crises," Mordun replied. "When suffering reaches a critical threshold across multiple star systems, your species awakens and responds. The current awakening appears to be triggered by the civilization collapses we've been observing in your local stellar region." Dr. Chun felt a chill of understanding. "The signals we've been receiving aren't just distress calls. They're wake-up calls." "Precisely. Your unconscious minds have been detecting the quantum signatures of civilizations in crisis. Your dreams, your science fiction, your sudden technological breakthroughs, they're all responses to a universe in need." President Martinez of Brazil asked the question everyone was thinking. "What happened the last time we were awake? Why did you stop us?" The chamber fell silent. Elder Mordun's ancient features showed what might have been shame. "We didn't stop you," he said quietly. "You chose to return to dormancy on your own. But not before reshaping galactic civilization in ways we're still trying to understand." The holographic displays changed, showing images of thriving worlds, peaceful space stations, and technologies that seemed to blend science with something approaching magic. "Wherever you went, you left things better than you found them," Mordun continued. "Diseases were cured, wars ended, ecological disasters reversed. But you also left civilizations that had become completely dependent on your help. When you withdrew to Earth 50 million years ago, many of those civilizations collapsed because they had forgotten how to solve problems without you. The implications hit the assembled humans like a physical blow." Secretary General Williams spoke for everyone. "We created a galaxy of children who couldn't take care of themselves." "That is the fear," Mordun confirmed. "This time, civilizations are facing crises while you're still awakening. If you respond the way you did before, you might save them. But you might also make them dependent on solutions they don't understand." Dr. Santos, still watching from Geneva, felt something stirring in her mind. Knowledge she hadn't learned, understanding she hadn't earned. She could see solutions to problems she'd never studied, technologies that could revolutionize galactic civilization. But she could also see the trap. "There has to be another way," she whispered to herself. As if responding to her words, new information began flowing into her consciousness. Not technological specifications this time, but something deeper. Understanding of how to teach rather than simply solve. how to guide rather than rescue, how to help others develop their own solutions rather than imposing human ones. In the UN chamber, Elder Mordun was concluding his presentation. "We've assembled a fleet to prevent you from leaving your solar system," he admitted. "But after watching your recent development, we realize that stopping you might doom the civilizations that need help. So we're offering an alternative." "Which is?" asked Secretary General Williams. "Partnership Mordun replied. Let us work together to respond to these crises. Use our experience of what happened before to guide your natural desire to help. Find ways to save those civilizations without making them dependent on you." The chamber erupted in discussion as representatives debated the most important decision in human history. Outside, Aurora Borealis danced across the sky in patterns that seemed almost like celebration, as if the Earth itself was welcoming humanity back to the stars. But in space, Admiral Kreshtar received new sensor readings that made his blood run cold. The quantum resonance patterns emanating from Earth weren't just awakening human knowledge. They were sending signals across the galaxy, letting every civilization know that humanity was stirring again. On distant worlds, beings who had only heard legends of the Great Intervention suddenly looked up at their skies with hope for the first time in generations. The humans were coming back, and this time, maybe they would find a way to help without creating new dependencies. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for what humanity would become when they truly awakened. 6 months after first contact, the joint Human Galactic Council facility orbiting Earth hummed with unprecedented activity. Dr. Maria Santos floated in the zero-gravity laboratory section, working alongside Dr. HFY, a crystalline engineer whose body chimed harmonically as they collaborated on the most ambitious project in galactic history. "The resonance frequencies are stabilizing," HFY chimed, his translucent form refracting light into beautiful patterns. "Your human intuitive approach, combined with our mathematical precision, is yielding results neither of our species could achieve alone." Maria smiled as she adjusted the controls of their hybrid wormhole generator. The device was unlike anything from humanity's previous galactic period. Instead of simply creating portals that humans could use to rush to the aid of distant civilizations, this new technology was designed to facilitate teaching and collaboration across interstellar distances. "Status report from the HFY system?" Maria asked. "Remarkable progress," replied Dr. Zylan, an Aquarian whose blue-scaled features have become familiar to the human team over the past months. Rather than sending human environmental engineers to fix their ecological collapse, we've been transmitting real-time data and guidance. Their own scientists are developing solutions using their unique biological understanding of their world. The breakthrough had come when Dr. Sarah Chun made a startling discovery while studying the quantum resonance patterns of awakening humanity. The same instincts that drove humans to help others also gave them an unconscious ability to understand how to teach effectively. They could see not just solutions to problems, but pathways for others to discover those solutions themselves. In the facility's diplomatic wing, Secretary General Patricia Williams concluded another session with the Galactic Council. The past 6 months had seen the most complex negotiations in galactic history as hundreds of species worked to establish new protocols for interstellar assistance. "The Mordun plague situation has been resolved," Elder Mordun reported, his ancient features showing something humanity had rarely seen in their galactic partners: genuine happiness. "The medical researchers we've been collaborating with developed an entirely new approach to viral treatment based on human insights into adaptive immunity, but using their own biotechnology." "Casualties?" Williams asked, though she already knew the answer from the daily reports. "Minimal," replied Admiral Kreshtar, who had become an unexpected ally after witnessing human behavior during the crisis. In the previous galactic period, humans would have arrived with advanced medical technology and cured the plague directly. This time, human doctors worked remotely to guide Mordun physicians in developing their own cure. The result was faster, more effective, and the Mordun medical system is now stronger than it was before the crisis. The transformation hadn't been easy. Humanity's awakening instincts had initially driven them toward direct intervention. Dr. Liu still remembered the heated arguments in Geneva when the first distress signal updates came in, showing thousands of beings dying while humans debated methodology instead of simply rushing to help. But the breakthrough came when young Akiko Tanaka, now 13 and part of an international youth advisory council, pointed out something the adult had missed. If we just fix everything for them, how do they learn to fix things for themselves when we're not around? Her simple observation had led to the development of what became known as the Collaborative Intervention Protocol. Instead of replacing alien problem-solving, human insight was used to enhance it. Human teams worked remotely with local specialists, sharing knowledge and perspective while allowing each civilization to develop solutions suited to their unique circumstances and capabilities. In the observation deck, Dr. Chun watched Earth turning slowly below as she compiled her latest report. The planet looked the same as it had a year ago, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, but more importantly, they were no longer driven by unconscious cycles of intervention and withdrawal. "Remarkable," said Sage Kilura, joining her at the observation window. The mind reader's telepathic abilities had proven invaluable in helping humans understand the psychological impact of their assistance methods. "Your species is the first we've encountered that managed to evolve beyond their initial behavioral patterns." "We had help," Sarah replied. "Knowing about our past, let us make better choices about our future." Through the viewport, they could see the construction of humanity's first true interstellar vessel. But it wasn't the rescue ship that Earth's military planners had originally envisioned. Instead, it was designed as a mobile collaboration platform, equipped with communication arrays powerful enough to maintain real-time contact with dozens of civilizations simultaneously, and staffed with teachers, advisors, and facilitators rather than engineers and doctors. "The Zephyrian Stellar Stabilization Project is ready for its next phase," reported Commander Yilneth, who had become the liaison between the Galactic Council's military forces and humanity's exploration initiatives. "Their astrophysicists have successfully implemented the fusion containment techniques that human physicists suggested. Their sun should remain stable for another billion cycles." "Any problems with dependency concerns?" Williams asked. "None," Yilneth replied. "The Zephyrians understand the principles behind the stabilization technology. They build it themselves using their own materials and manufacturing techniques. Human input was limited to theoretical guidance and mathematical modeling. The success stories were accumulating across the galaxy, but each one represented a fundamental shift in how galactic civilization approached interspecies cooperation. Rather than stronger species simply helping weaker ones, the new model focused on collaborative problem-solving that strengthened every participant. Dr. Santos received an update from her team in Geneva, where the original wormhole laboratory had become the center of a new kind of research. Instead of developing technologies for human use, they were working to understand how different species' natural abilities could be combined to create solutions none of them could achieve alone. The ethereal collective's energy manipulation capabilities combined with crystalline harmonic resonance and human intuitive physics are yielding insights into quantum mechanics that are revolutionizing our understanding of reality itself, her assistant reported. "We're not just helping other civilizations solve problems. We're all solving problems together that none of us could handle individually." But the most profound change was happening in humanity's own psychology. The awakening process that had begun with distress signals from distant worlds was evolving into something unprecedented, collective consciousness that extended beyond species boundaries. Humans were beginning to think of galactic welfare as naturally as they thought of planetary welfare. Young Akiko Tanaka, now serving as an unofficial ambassador between human youth and their galactic peers, received a message that exemplified the transformation. It came from young Kethvari on the recently stabilized world, thanking not just humanity for their help, but the Aquarians who had provided biological expertise, the Crystallins who had contributed structural engineering knowledge, and the Ethereals who had shared energy management techniques. "We didn't just survive our ecological crisis," the message read. "We learned to work with other worlds to solve problems we never could have handled alone. Thank you for teaching us that we're stronger together." As Earth continued its rotation, the lights of the orbital facility reflected off its surface like a new star. In the facility's center, representatives from 47 different species worked side by side on projects that would have been impossible for any single civilization. Elder Mordun stood in the facility's central chamber, surrounded by the holographic displays showing the status of collaborative projects across the galaxy. For the first time in 50 million years, galactic civilization was growing stronger rather than more dependent. Species that had barely achieved spaceflight were contributing insights that helped solve problems facing ancient civilizations. The transformation is complete, he reported to the Galactic Council. Humanity has not only awakened from their dormancy period, they've evolved beyond the cycle entirely. They've learned to help others grow stronger rather than simply solving problems for them. And the fears? Asked a council member. Proving unfounded, Mordun replied. This awakening is different. Instead of creating dependence, human intervention is creating independence. Instead of reshaping civilizations in human image, they're helping each species develop solutions that fit their unique nature. On Earth, in a small apartment in Tokyo, Akiko Tanaka looked up at the stars through her window. She knew that somewhere out there, beings she had never met were working with humans to solve problems and build a better galaxy for everyone. The thought filled her with a sense of purpose and belonging that transcended her species and her world. Humanity had finally learned the secret that had eluded them for millions of years. True help doesn't make others dependent, it makes them stronger. And in learning that lesson, they had transformed not just themselves, but the entire nature of galactic civilization. The universe no longer feared waking humans. Instead, it was grateful that they had awakened at just the right time and in just the right way to help everyone learn how to build something better together. As the joint facility completed its first orbit of the day, signals pulsed out to distant worlds carrying not just aid and assistance, but something far more valuable. The knowledge that no species, no matter how advanced or primitive, had to face the challenges of existence alone. The age of dependent rescue was over. The age of collaborative growth had begun, and somewhere in the deep reaches of space, on worlds that had not yet developed radio technology, young beings looked up at their skies and dreamed of distant stars, not knowing that when they were ready to reach for them, friends would already be waiting to help them learn to fly.